Right, well, come back. We are now joined by James Birdseye, and he's going to be talking about the box in the corner, not the one that goes beep. Over to you, James.
Oh, well, thanks so much, guys. And it is an absolute pleasure to be here. It really is. So the title of this talk, it won't be particularly long, but it's The Box in the Corner, but not the one that goes beep. And all will be revealed pretty quickly, as long as it's right. Right, here we go. So, hello, my name is. That's something we do in the medical world, because it was for a long time, we realized that people kind of started prodding and poking people without actually saying their name, which is, really quite rude. So my name's James. I currently work for Public Health England in the COVID response team. So I'm doing stuff on COVID at the moment. I've been an enhanced paramedic in the NHS for 10 years, and I also work for the CQC as well. Sorry, my slides seem to be coming off. Interests, I've got, I'm interested in motorcycling. I've fallen off twice, and I've only been doing it a year, so I'm not particularly good. My other interest is not getting COVID. I failed miserably in that, as I was in hospital for 9 days with it, and I also support Bracknell Town, which is the God's own football team, I have decided. Yeah, so why am I here? Because I'm a paramedic, not really an InfoSec person. The reason I'm here is a fair few years ago, you may have remembered, there was an NHS hack, and I had a patient that I took into hospital, and they needed a drug, and they needed a drug urgently. And essentially, there was a big delay in them getting that drug, and they could have died. No ifs or buts about it. We actually had to get a porter to run to the other side of the hospital for the only terminal that was working to print out their notes. So, really, really kind of serious stuff. And because of that, I started to look into it and realized that this is quite an important thing, and a really important thing in healthcare. So this is a picture of a resuscitation room. You would have seen this if you're in the UK, likely on Casualty or Holby City or something like that. Or if you've been unlikely like me, you may have seen it yourself. Lots of gubbins around, lots of things. And there the arrow just shows the one thing that it was pretty much connected to the internet, and that was the box in the corner. Everything else goes beep, that didn't. That was the bit that didn't go beep, and occasionally it would be used, sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. And you'd get patients' notes on there, sometimes put stuff in. And that was maybe 2-3 years ago. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, if you notice, we would have all the anesthetic machines and such like, and they would be all separate. But even if they were interconnected on the internet and connected, they wouldn't talk to each other. The big difference is now everything is connected. So that box in the corner now talks to the anesthetic machine. If you look there, we've got the drips, the amount of drugs that we give, even the drawers now, when you open a drawer, it will actually go and come onto the computer screen and onto the servers. So we've got lots and lots of connectivity now, which is fantastic and makes our life lots easier. If you look, we've got then a big arrow right to the bottom, which is out of the room. And this is where it gets very exciting. The senior clinician now, so often the consultant will be using lifetime monitoring of vital signs, so the pulse, saturations, all of the things that you would have seen that go beep. We'll also use real-time monitoring of imaging as well, so CT scans, MRIs, and X-rays. But they will often use this on and off. So they might actually not even be on site with full mobile device integration. So the consultant's on the golf course, which they often are, and they can start going and making decisions before they actually come into the hospital, or maybe even not come into the hospital. And what can also be done is video with either the registrar or the senior clinicians, or even the patient, with the vital signs being overlaid on top, so they can see what's going on, plus also at the same time seeing what's going on there. So the big question for you sort of infosec clever people is, how many threat entry points are there now? You know, when that hack happened, there was pretty much one, and yeah, it affected my patient. But the reality was that that was information. That wasn't the actual machines themselves. Whether now, potentially, we've got absolute shed loads of entry points. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my slides, so I do apologize to you all. This stuff is really, really real, okay? Really real. And the last attack on healthcare providers was yesterday. I saw it yesterday because I was very lazy and did all my slides last minute, as I always do. And there's a ransomware attack. CNN reported this in the States, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, imminent threat to US healthcare providers. Nursing homes. I mean, nursing homes, what kind of evil people would go for nursing? I mean, it's mind blowing. And essentially it was blackmail. You know, have a fee, here, we can have a fee and all your computers, everything can come back to life. Oh, wonderful. And particularly within our friends in the United States and other private providers, that's got to be tempting. That's definitely got to be tempting. So what I want to do is to just briefly put you on a real patient journey. And this patient I dealt with, and I dealt with relatively recently. And this is where technology has made a huge difference to patients' lives. Okay, so patient journey, a 59-year-old female, history of diabetes, got no other medical problems. And she woke up today and she had breakfast, sat at her desk in her home office, as many of us have been during COVID, and suddenly felt sort of slurred speech and had a right-sided weakness in her face. Her son was concerned that it was basically her diabetes and did her blood sugar level, and that was all normal. And suddenly he was like, oh, we're in trouble here. So he phoned 999. Which is our number for 911 for any people that are listening in the States. So this is the big difference. So what would have happened before is that we would have taken the 999 call and sent someone directly there. That's what would happen. Now it's slightly different. We receive the 999 call and a link is sent to the smartphone of the son. He then clicks on that link and has a video conference directly with a clinician, a paramedic in the control room. So that assessment starts within seconds of the 999 call. We also use the Good Sam app, which is a free app which is available to activate any off-duty clinicians in the area, so any doctors, nurses or such like, and the ambulance response car was en route. The help arrives, and I arrived on a response car, and I started to complete everything on the electronic clinical record, which means that information went straight to the ambulance crew that were en route, so they can see the vital signs from my monitor actually live in real time. And we can also have that real-time connection to the control room where we've got advanced clinicians, including doctors. And now we can have that in real time to the receiving hospital. And that means they can start preparing what they're going to do with that patient well before they arrive actually at hospital. So on arrival, the doctor went and assessed the patient and ordered an immediate CT scan. That CT scan was again reviewed in pretty much real time by a neurologist who wasn't on site, who was on another hospital, and then secondly reviewed, which must be done in this kind of thing, outsourced to teleradiology in India, which offer a 24-hour service. So again, you know, we're just moving data all the time. They were taken back to the resus area, and the neurologist wanted some sort of further information from the patient, really. So it was quite, because this is such a big drug, they were going to give a really big drug to reduce that clot and take that clot away, literally bust it out of the brain. And if you get it wrong, someone can bleed to death. So it's very, very serious. So he then activated the video conferencing by the bedside and discussed with the patient, gave a little bit of further assessment, and the nurse gave medication. So if we look then actually at what happened to this patient, they had a near full reversal of all of their symptoms. The drug was given 90 minutes from the onset of the start of the stroke. And I'm quite sure that a lot of the reason that the drug was given so quickly is because they had all the live data and information at the time. So they were in a position where they weren't thinking, oh, maybe not, maybe I should give this drug, oh, let's go and see. They started to prepare literally from the 999 call, so before our arrival. They were discharged 2 days later, and they were back at work completely within 5 weeks after their original stroke. So looking at something like that, that is obviously really exciting for us, and it's great. It's making life better, and it's making patients' lives better, and it's saving lives. But there is also a risk, and as we talked about earlier, those threat points now are cloud. You know, we're now going on the cloud. We are moving. We're moving patients all the time, and that data is going around the place, really private data of, you know, the thing that we hold most dear, which is our medical records. So what I've got here on this slide is all of the people that work for the National Health Service, and I've tried to remember as many as I can, and it is tricky, and I definitely would have sort of failed in a few. But when you talk about IT and you talk about InfoSec and this sort of thing with colleagues, it's very much seen as they are they're the IT department. They're the people that are in a box somewhere and probably the help desk, and they pick up the phone and say, have you turned it on and off again? You know, and oh, right, you forgot your password. Whether actually, I think that InfoSec and the industry now needs to be completely and utterly part of the NHS, whether that is on a private setting and whether that's sort of subcontracted, or whether that's working directly for the National Health Service, which is free at the point of use in the UK. And the reason being is that we've got these threats. We've now got so many open areas that can be affected. And this is a real challenge, and something that needs to be taken very, very seriously. And during COVID and all these challenges that we've got, if we get a hack on top of COVID and on top of the horrendous situation that we're in, and over winter it is going to be horrendous, then many people could die. So what I want to say is just a huge, massive thanks, and a massive thanks to your industry, because whether you're working directly in healthcare or whatever you're doing, you're part of the solution that is stopping horrendous attacks on our health service. And therefore, you are stopping, basically, you're a part of the team that's stopping people having worse health and potentially even dying. And it is as serious as that. And, you know, in America, say yesterday, they found that out. So I very much want to thank all of you for what you do. And the thing is, what's so difficult about what you do is when it goes wrong, my goodness, the press and everything else will go and be on your backs and saying how, you know, why wasn't this done, and why didn't this get stopped? But what they're not going to do is that when you get it right, nobody's going to say thank you. So from me, and from probably, hopefully, all of my clinician friends that kind of know about this stuff a little bit, thank you very, very much. And just a big thank you to Sean for introducing me, for Scott, who I didn't put your big name there. I'm sorry, Scott. Sam Humphreys as well, and the beer farmers for putting this on. It's been absolutely incredible, and what I've learned loads. I've learned absolutely loads in the past few days, and thank you so much. I really appreciate the chance to briefly chat to you all today. So any questions?
Thank you, James. Excellent talk, and certainly some very sobering thoughts to think about. So I have a few questions I think Scott may have, but there is one question from Twitch, from Binary Sleeper. What security awareness training do you get, and do you think it's sufficient?
I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, someone went through my internet cable this morning, so I'm actually using Telia, which is terrible. So I just missed the question. I'm so sorry.
All good. What sort of security awareness training do NH employees get, and do you think it's sufficient?
That is a fantastic question, Sean, and it's absolutely not sufficient, which you won't be probably surprised that I'm saying. It's pretty much put in information governance. We do a it's online training, which in all honesty is get your mate and the person that's done it before you and got the full marks, and yeah, there we go, and give him a biscuit and a cup of tea and he does it for you. That's the reality. It's about passwords. Oh, make sure your password's changed occasionally, and put an exclamation mark in it. That is the extent of the security training. That's it pretty much. And they might say put an antivirus on. There isn't the awareness of threat, and there isn't the awareness of, you know, what can happen if you stick your USB stick in and it comes from the wrong place, whatever. There's just not the awareness there at all.
Yeah, I mean, when I had my two kids, we were often left in a room, totally unattended, door shut for minute, like you're talking hours sometimes on end. Mm-hmm. There was a PC sat in the corner there, that one PC that you're talking about, and I had full access to it if I really wanted to. So
yeah,
what are your thoughts around sort of, obviously the attacks coming from the outside, but what about the inside attacks, such as in that scenario?
Absolutely. I think it's a great point. If you look at my friends and our friends that work in the Ministry of Defence, you know, the biggest no-no is charging your phone on a USB. That is an absolute no-no, and you do it and you're going to have a meeting without coffee with kind of a company commander or such like. It is, nope, don't do it. USBs, you know, they cannot be brought into an MOD site. But I think when I was a student, I think they gave me a USB. I think it was just kind of like, oh, there you go. Stuck it on the, you know, on the lanyard. So there isn't the awareness at all. And essentially, if you did want to cause problems internally, it would be very, very easy, without doubt. I mean, even to the point where I have seen before, the data cards, which is to get the most private patient information, and you have a data card with a chip in it, sort of thing, and that data card, people just leave in. They leave it in the thing because it's like, oh, their mate goes and uses it, and it does happen. It really does happen because it's a bit of a pain to log out, log in. Oh, there you go. Use mine while I go to the loo. It's not good.
Yeah, excellent points. So there is another question in Twitch. How do you recommend getting clinics in the door for awareness training?
I think in reality, awareness training and increasing it within healthcare, it's going to be about, to put a finer point on it, it's going to be when their bottoms are burned, because that's when things are done. And everything, quite rightly, the focus is on COVID now. You know, I mean, I'm not by any means saying that it shouldn't be, but that surely to our enemies, and they are enemies, you know, I really believe that, they are going to take advantage of that. You know, if we're extremely busy or things are a big problem, that's when surely they're going to take advantage. So I feel that now is the time when we really need to be on our game, and treating this extremely seriously. So I think, unfortunately, to the really good question, I think the reality is that it will be when there's another attack and people are hurt, actually, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree. And unfortunately, those that we're dealing with don't really have a great moral compass, is one way of putting it. So
Yeah.
it is something that certainly concerns me. Scott, do you have any questions?
No, it's just basically bouncing off of what James has just literally just said. I've done training sessions at the NHS and they lap it up, but under one or two specific requirements, and that is they're not overloaded with work and they can actually attend this stuff and they
Yeah.
do take it in. And then secondarily to that, obviously you've got management understanding this is important, we need to pay for this or schedule time for it. But no, I think it's absolutely spot on about when you reference, you know, the kind of heartless motive that Sean literally just touched on it about, you know, people targeting critical systems or I think you brought up the nursing home example. That's pretty horrendous. And just now you think about the number of nursing homes that are having to adapt to using technology they're not qualified to use and not trained in. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. They're having to adapt to COVID. I mean, you're seeing it from the inside, which is post 381 and Twitch literally just said, you know, getting an insight to an industry that we see it from one angle only. You're in the unique position, James, where you see it from both angles now, which is great. But adapting to the COVID situation with that insight of infosec and healthcare, are you seeing a lot of stuff you're like, this is going to end badly, this is going to end badly? Are you seeing a lot of that?
Absolutely, because as I said, you know, it's fantastic the technology that we're using. You know, it's awesome, the cloud stuff and the video conferencing, you know, it is making a huge difference. We're getting experts, and let's be honest, you know, there's only so many neurosurgeons in the world. You know, you can't just you can't go and just get a brain surgeon off the shelf. So whether we like it or not, this is absolute essential stuff. We need to be, the only way to have someone in two places at once is using this technology. And I think sort of to answer your question, the thing that scares me is that there's just so many entry points now. There's so big possible threats. And it's a situation where nobody's talking about it, really. It just feels that they're not talking about it. And when there's a hack, then yeah, absolutely, everyone's talking about it. And they're talking about it for, you know, a couple of days, maybe a week. And this scares the heck out of me. You know, I mean, imagine in worst case scenario, and I'm talking absolute worst case scenario, that someone goes and hacks into the systems at Nightingale. You know, I mean, with vast quantity of people on ventilators, I mean, that scares the living bejesus out of me, to be honest with you. It really does.
Yeah, but I totally agree. I mean, scares me from my family point of view. So, and yeah, as well as the wider community in that. James, thank you so much. Excellent talk. Many great comments in Twitch saying what a great talk it is. And thank you for your time.
No, it's been amazing. And, you know, this has been a real sort of special time. And as I say, I've just learned so much. I really have. And, you know, just all credit to everyone that's spoken, but also, you know, especially to you guys. You know, it's really special, and I think a lot of industries could learn about community building and about what you guys have done. So thank you so much. It's really special.
The only thing I'll say is the community, it's a two-way street. We can build something, people need to turn up, and you know, the right people can turn up, the wrong people can turn up. So the right people have turned up here. So it's all on you. We'll put that back on you. I think Sean agrees.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Not only turn up, but also contribute and add positivity, which you've certainly done, as well as the others in the community. So thank you.